right, welcome back, guys, to yet another episode
This,
of
this
Get
is
Hooked Podcast.
episode eight. Eight? We're up to
Yeah,
eight already?
8.
Wow.
I know.
I still can't believe they passed to do this.
Man, I'm here for it always. How you doing out there, Dennis? I know weather's changing. It's November now.
Oh yeah, been seeing some inclement weather hitting across the country. We got snowstorms meeting up with hurricanes and all sorts of weird weather happening. It's
So
going to be a
much crazy stuff.
fun, expensive, costly, hopefully profitable winter for our service providers.
I know, exactly. One of the things that we wanted to talk about is just that it ties directly into that, and that is the topic of technology.
Technology in towing.
And towing. You know what? And even before we even get into like the technology and towing, I just was thinking about this the other day. I was driving down the street. I live here in LA, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen those robots that are going around now, those Amazon robots. Have you seen those, Dennis?
I haven't, but sounds a little creepy. Tell me
It's
more though.
okay, listen, it's kind of creepy. It's a lot creepy, but at the same time, it's super cool. I feel like I'm in the Jetsons or something because I was like driving down the street and I see this robot. It's like a box on wheels and it has like a little happy face and it stops at the light. Light turns red so it could cross the street. It crosses the street and I'm just like watching it. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone, but it's just amazing to see. And so it got me thinking, man, technology has come so far within just even the last like 15, 20 years, you know? So
I
I'm
mean, even in the last
wondering,
5 or 10, I mean, there weren't robots on the street delivering packages 5 years ago.
yeah, it's so crazy. So guys, I say all that to say that is what today's topic is all about is technology and towing in the digital era. We have a wonderful guest on today, Mr. Steven Rojas, who's our Senior Director of Product Management here at HONK, to really talk about the reason why digitizing your business is so necessary. And on top of that, what HONK's philosophy is behind tech in the towing industry. I mean, we're a tech company in this industry, and he touches a little bit more on what the purpose of our goal is. Really excited to have him on the show to break down some of those things for us. I know we're going to be talking about some tips and trick that Dennis, you put together a little guide for anybody who's looking to transform their business digitally. Dennis has put together something for you to kind of give you like a step-by-step guide to do so. So interested to share that with you guys as well.
Yeah, this is going to be a great conversation with Steven. Anybody who's ever been around the Honk office will tell you that Steven and I have had some heated conversations in the middle of the floor discussing, what direction to go and how to really look at things a different way because, Steven's he's the manager of our product team and he has a way of seeing things that he sees things 10, 12, 14 steps down the road. He plays 3D chess with everything. But he and I just, we always, I try and bring the perspective of our service provider network and my experience as a tower and in the towing industry. And sometimes the data doesn't match up with my experience and the experience that I know other people have had as well. So those are great conversations we have all the time. Looking forward to doing that a little bit more with Steven on air today.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to hear some of that stuff because I think that a lot of our listeners, a lot of our partners, and anybody we've worked with out there have some questions that probably going to get answered today. So looking forward to hearing that. Before we get deep into that, though, Dennis, I was going to bring this up, and I can't wait
Oh
because
no.
finally,
Here
if
we
you are a
go.
listener and you have been hearing us talk about me and my poor Jeep experiences, today's Dennis's turn because he's the one that needed a winch out. That's right. We're going to get into it. Go ahead. Spill the beans. Tell us what happened in it.
So I actually recently moved halfway across the country, and in my travels, I had pretty much all of my life's belongings in a U-Haul trailer attached to the back of my Volkswagen. And in the as we just mentioned, the inclement weather I hit on I-40 coming through New Mexico became a total whiteout condition. Could not see. Couldn't even drive an extra couple of feet. And I got off the interstate and just I was going to look for a hotel to try and rest up for the night and get back on the road the next morning. Well, wouldn't you know it? Made one wrong turn and wound up on a steep hill with the trailer pulling me down, and I couldn't move. And I had to use honk to get a service and winch me out of that snow and get me back on the road and get me over to the hotel and where I had to go. So shout out to Platinum Auto Towing and Transport out of New Mexico. They came in and helped me out in a really sticky situation. So
Oh yeah, I think
thankful for that.
they sent me some pictures of you in your sticky situation,
Oh boy.
which I feel like at this point I'm gonna have to blast off. Just to send out an email to the entire company so everyone gets to join me in this session.
Have you learned how to change a tire yet?
I'm gonna lay that on you because no, I haven't because you were supposed to teach me.
Okay.
But I've watched enough YouTube videos, so maybe I'll just have to try it on my own. But I'm gonna wait until I actually need to learn how to do that, or actually need to change the
Um,
tire
I,
myself.
I'm never going to live this one down, though, am I? I'm going to hear this about this one a
No,
lot.
never, ever, ever. Because
Cool,
Dennis
cool,
extraordinaire needed a
cool,
winch out, but
cool
I'm glad
story,
it
bro.
worked out, and that kind of makes me think of like all the other customers or jobs that we've had where there's been a situation like that, and we've had customers that needed that winch out. So I'm glad we had someone on scene to help you out there with that, Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, as far as needing a winch out and getting your car towed go, wasn't an awful experience. You know, it sucked to be sitting in the snow waiting for a tow truck, but I knew exactly where my provider was. I had a map. I knew how far away he was, so I just put the radio on, put the heat on, and sat there till he got there.
Oh, that's cool. You know, you're talking about tracking. You were able to see the tow truck coming your way.
Yep, I saw him from when he was about 15, 20 minutes out from me. He called me right away, let me know he was getting close and that I should be looking out for him. He asked me, what he should be looking for. I said the big orange trailer stuck in the snow with its flashers on. That's probably what you're looking for. But
Man, well, it sounds like a great experience. I know when, and I've had my numerous experiences, I was kept in the know as well as every step of the way. So sounds like it went well for you. Now, guys,
I think that's the best part of it is really like you push a couple buttons and you put in your information and then you don't have to think about it anymore.
yeah, it makes it so easy, right? Man, it's almost like I hate to say equate it to like ordering food from like Uber or something, but that's literally what it is. It's
I
probably like the
I did
easiest
try to order
thing.
food while I was sitting there. When
Did you?
there were no Postmates available.
Oh. No, was this in the middle of the night?
It was probably late evening. I was probably say about 8 or 9.
Good thing that there were tow trucks available for you, though. So I'm glad to hear that. Now, guys, one of the things we want to talk about today is that is the idea that the tow industry benefits from technology advancements and has found numerous ways to do jobs safer and more efficiently. However, we've noticed that there's a transition for many companies that it's just simply not a priority to transition into this new wave of technology that can make things easier for you. So we want to ask the question, why is that? What is it that's holding various tow businesses and tow business owners back from making the change? And yeah, we want to get right down to the bottom of that.
Yeah, I think there's a few different reasons for tow providers, tow company owners to be scared of that change. Um, Technology can be scary. If you've never used an iPhone, if you've never used a smartphone, if you're only used to flip phones or God forbid a rotary phone, if
Walkie
you
talkies, yeah.
right, if you've only used a rotary phone, a flip phone is going to be scary to you. But we all need to realize that this is the world we live in these days, and this is the experience that the user wants. This is the experience that the end consumer wants, and this is what insurance companies and fleet companies want to provide to keep their customers happy.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine, walking into, let's even say like a hospital, and there are certain new processes that they've been able to implement because of technology that has made it easier to detect illnesses or concerns or hurts or broken bones, faster. And I can imagine those doctors saying, "Oh no, well we'll keep doing it the old way." How many of those patients would go to different hospitals? They wouldn't even think about stopping at that practice. So I think about that, and I mean, in so many different industries, obviously technology has made such a huge impact on the way that we do business, the way we operate, and the way we get help and care. And so I think that definitely in the tow industry, it's something that needs to be considered. Going to some of these shows, I've seen so many different ideas rolled out, different types of tools and resources and equipment that have been digitized now.
There's been so many advancements in technology in the towing industry that I think we even take for granted. I'm not just talking about in the dispatch office. I'm not just talking about how you communicate to your drivers. I'm talking about the actual technology that goes into the trucks. You can look at any equipment catalog, any vendor's website that sells trucks, and you can see all the new, cool, fun stuff that they put on the truck that is there to make an operator's life easier. I can absolutely get on the road with a single axle 1983 Mack tow truck and get on the road and do tows all day, but my back's going to hurt at the end of the day. My back's going to hurt from not having an air ride seat. My back's going to hurt from lifting all this heavy crap that's steel and not aluminum anymore. Things like rotators and self loaders and low angle flatbeds. Yes, they may not be necessary to get the job done, but if they make you better, they make you faster, they make you more efficient, they make you safer, that drives up the revenue for your business. And all these things together turn you from a borderline profitable business to an actually bona fide money making operation. The average profit margin for the towing industry hovers around 8%. If you can bump that up 2, 3, 4 percentage points by just adding things into your daily routine, things like a computer in the office to track your invoices, central dispatch software, communication devices to reach your drivers efficiently without having to call them on the phone every 15 minutes, GPS tracking. There's tons of things that you can do to make your business more efficient and to move faster. As we say in the industry, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Great points, Dennis. You're making some really great points here. And, what thing you want to do as a tow business owner is you want to assess your business from the inside out. You want to look at all the manual processes that you currently have in place. And then you want to see how you can go digital with them. So many businesses, like you mentioned, have been able to make adjustments that allow them to be more efficient and safe and not even drive more business, but lower cost. If you can drive more revenue for your business and lower costs at the same time, I think you're definitely heading to be one of the leaders of the pack in this industry. So let's hop into it. We have a special guest for you all today, who is Steaven Rojas, who's our Senior Director of Product Management here at HONK. He's going to break down for you, one, what a product management does. What does that even mean in the tech world?
I had to learn what that was when I came on board. Product. What the heck are you talking about?
What do you mean? No, I think it's a great conversation to have. I think that it definitely can bridge the gap between all of the technology that's now added to the business and what that means for tow business owners. He's going to break that down. He's going to give you some insights on, again, why it is so important that you make it paramount to digitize your business. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring him on. Steaven, thank you so much for joining us for today's show.
So welcome aboard to your first episode of the Get Hooked podcast, Steaven.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We're really happy to have you here. We're really interested in getting into this discussion about the digital world of towing. We're towing in the digital world.
Yeah, super excited to have on, of course, our Senior Director of Product Management. Now, some of you out there may not know exactly what product management means, specifically about about technology in general, about technology companies. So we thought it'd be cool to bring on our Senior Director and have him break it down a little bit for us. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit introduction about yourself, Steaven, and tell us what you do.
Thanks, Yvonne. So first, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be on the podcast today. You guys have been doing some really exciting topics. And, the big reason why we're all here is this advancement in technology in so many different industries, and even in the towing industry. Let me tell you a bit about myself. So I've been with the company now as of October, 6 years. I think I was like the fifth or sixth hire that came on board. Started really from the beginning, have seen a lot of the technology being built at HONK to where now I'm helping HONK build products for a couple of different people. We build products for our service providers. We build products for our insurance clients. And we also build product or things for the actual end consumer who is stuck on the side of the road. So I really love that you touched on, what product does, which many people in the towing industry might not be totally aware what these tech companies do on an every single day. But I'll give you a little bit of a story. So I work with some pretty incredible product managers. One, which I believe you've had on the podcast recently, Shelly Hawkins. One of the things that we
Right.
do every single day is study and analyze the market, the behaviors of people to try to solve problems. And so in the world of towing, as many of you guys know, there's so many different problems. There is arriving on time. There is providing a great service. There's giving information when things change. And so we're looking at the entire spectrum of the world of towing and trying to find the biggest problems to solve, and observing and talking to people and going out into the market and talking to service providers as well to learn what to do with them. So we do a lot of things. Our product team is huge. We are extremely data driven. And like I said, it's not just for the service provider. We also build technology for the customer and the insurance carriers as well.
Man, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for breaking that down for us, Steven. Now, you mentioned something, and I have to ask you. You said you've been with Honk for over 6 years now, or about 6 years now. And so I'm just thinking what that must have been like for you to see the type of providers and technology there was 6 years ago in this industry. And I might be putting you on the spot a little bit here, so I apologize. But tell us, what's the difference? What are the different things that you have seen since you started to now? What are some of the most exciting changes that you recognized as far as tech goes in this industry?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think my story comes from probably my first week or two at Honk. Right when I joined, the business was scaling really rapidly, and we were trying to sign up providers into our network. And during that time, we were making hundreds of thousands of phone calls to try to invite these providers to come join us. And 6 years ago isn't really that long ago, and I will never claim to be a tow expert, a physics expert, but I've spent a lot of time with these providers over the years. And in that first week, I received phone calls, or I would speak to providers where they would say something like, yeah, I'll go ahead and sign up for your product. Shoot me over a fax. And we can work with you. And I being part of the tech
In
world,
2014.
and right, and being part of the tech world, I was very shocked. I didn't know that this was still a thing. I mean, obviously, I know a lot of businesses still use fax for official purposes, but I was very surprised as to how new the world of technology was, 6 years ago. Now that was 6 years ago. You fast forward to now, and companies like Honk and Urgently and Towbook and a lot of different players have come into the market, have introduced a ton of different technology. And so, back to that first week, I don't think they'll get that answer anymore as much, obviously, if we were to rewrite history and start from today. But that was interesting.
That's actually a really funny anecdote there, Steven. I actually have a similar story. I started at Jets Towing in Brooklyn, New York, 2016. But back then, when I first started there, their dispatch team was using a dispatch software called Into, and what they did was they actually had their motor club accounts and their customers fax over their information, and then they were entering it into the Into dispatch system and then dispatching the service out through their system, or actually over the telephone, or using two-way radios, or whatever we had at the time. The conversation was really just starting around this whole digital dispatch job acceptance conversation. This is still fairly new to the industry. It wasn't happening everywhere. But as soon as I got wind of it, first thing I did was throw the fax machine out the window, because it was such a slow process. You'd have to get the phone call from your motor club, give them an ETA, tell them you could accept the service. They would then fax it over. You'd have to wait for the fax. Then you would have to receive the fax. Hopefully you had paper and ink and everything that went in the machine. Manually enter all the details into the system, and then pick up the phone, call your driver, and dispatch it out. That would take a good 7, 8, 10, sometimes 12 minutes. That's vital time. Customer sitting on the roadway. That's vital time of your truck sitting down while your driver's waiting for a call if he's clear, or your driver sitting in the shop, polishing his wheels while he's got nothing to do. That's money you're not earning, that 12 minutes. So what we were able to do is we brought in all these other systems along with the digital dispatch, and we brought in tablets for the trucks and cell phones for the trucks that we were able to use to communicate with the system, cut down on communication times. And we turned that 8, 10, 12 minutes into 2 or 3 minutes to get a call entered, approved, dispatched out.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
when people see it in front of them and then make the connection as to how that can influence their business long term, you never go back. Attending the tow shows over the years, you meet different criteria of people who are welcoming the technology versus I will never do that. And I've met providers who are third, fourth, fifth generations that it's their sons that are implementing the technology, while the father or the owner is the one who's still looking over the entire of the business, but they're making investments, and it's usually this new generation that's implementing a lot of the digital aspect. Now, if there was like one thing I could share that I think Honk does very, very well, is to build a lot of things with intent, right? We represent the towing network on behalf of our clients. We also represent the customer on the side of the road. And the digital movement isn't just for the sake of the digital movement. It's actually because we're all here for this customer on the side of the road. And if you think about how all of the world is evolving, where the speed of information is so quick now with Uber and Lyft and Postmates and a lot of these delivery apps, and it's happening both on the West Coast and the East Coast and Middle America, it's only natural that the customers who are asking for this level of information, also ask of that information from their insurance carriers and the people who help them on the side of the road. So, this digital transformation is both to help businesses become more efficient, but really a magical cycle that helps us all be profitable businesses and grow to, as big as we want, all comes down to what happens with this person on the side of the road. Because if you're able to provide information and tracking and live ETAs to this customer on the side of the road, that person's more likely to stay with their insurance carriers, which means more business for the providers at the end of the day. So it's just like you said, Dennis, it's both the, wow, this is so efficient and I love this, but it's also, something that you don't truly see on the other end is how beneficial it is for customers on the side of the road.
Absolutely. I mean, we've touched on this at least once per episode, but I can't tell you how amazing it has been to experience both sides of a job as a customer. When your tow truck driver comes out, first of all, you get a call. You don't know exactly who's coming, when they're coming. You're kind of left in no man's land, not really knowing anything, and then you're in this anxious space of who's going to help me and how are they going to help me. But then additionally, like you mentioned, one of the things that Honk does great is we supply that to a lot of our customers, and even me being a customer of Honk at some point, being able to see who's coming, knowing that person is coming. I'm like, oh, Frank is coming. He's on his way. He'll be here in 20 minutes. And I can see him, down the street, and, oh, look, he's getting here in 11 minutes instead of 20 minutes. This is awesome. So, it's like all these little things that allow me to say that was a great experience versus, the maybe the non technology option where people are calling, oh, we'll get someone out there to you, and so I know there's been quite a bit that has changed since 1916, since the first truck was invented. And so I wanted to have a discussion about that as well, because one thing that you mentioned, Steven, was you called some of the operators a physics expert. And I think that's huge, because a lot of times there's a misconception that towing is an easy job. And I say misconception because in general, the general public doesn't know the ins and outs of what it takes for an operator to do their job. But there's a lot that goes into it. It's very complex. And specifically, on the truck, there's tools that have been updated that allow that operator to do their job even more efficiently to this. But what are the things that you find that companies who are succeeding digitally are doing to make it that way?
Well, before we jump into that, one thing I just want to touch on your point there. You talked about the upgrading of equipment and tools on the truck, and one thing I always was always my argument for upgrading software and bringing in technology and bringing in these systems that drive efficiency was always, you can go out and run your truck with a sling, and yeah, you could probably still tow most cars with a sling truck and a Holmes 220 these days. You can probably still make it work, but it's much easier if you're towing cars all day. If you're just moving cars, picking them up, putting them down, it's much easier to operate a self loader than it is to operate a sling. And these advancements have come in every stage of the industry. These advancements have come in the trucks themselves, on the back end, on the business end of the truck, in the office, having cell phones. Again, we've had these conversations 100 times, but I remember having to carry a roll of quarters so you can call your dispatcher when you're done with your call and drop it.
Yeah, I'll
Man.
chime in a little bit too. When it comes to managing your business, right? And I think that's what product managers and are really good at. They're good at putting the business aside and asking people, what do you experience on a day-to-day basis? What are your issues? What are your wishes, and what would you like to do with your business? And for the towing side, one of the things that we've learned time and time again is that usually the management of a tow company is fairly stable. They're experts in their fields. They're usually the ones that will like to handle the heavy equipment when, for heavy duty type tows or movements. And then there is another layer, which is the operators underneath them. And there's a lot of churn. Training or finding good operators to work for your business is a difficult task. We know that a lot of the management that we've met from different tow companies spend massive amounts of time either training new people or finding or remediating people that they've already hired. So really, where does the digital piece come into all of this, right? You have technology out there now that is able to tell you whether or not a person is wearing a seatbelt inside of the tow truck, whether or not that vehicle is loaded and they're driving more than 45 miles per hour or 50 miles per hour. You're able to see the exact GPS location of that operator and see if he's hanging out at McDonald's versus en route to the customer. And all of these things are just tools to help really the experts, the management, to manage their business a lot faster and better. So it's so much. I mean, I call them physics experts because that's what they are first, but then they are business experts. Then they are monetization experts. They're also teachers. They're leaders. They have such a massive endeavor to be able to manage the chaos. What did Shelley call it the other day? The whirlwind of chaos that is their office. And so how do you wrangle that whirlwind of chaos? You have to embrace technology both at the management level, but down at the truck level and at the driver level. And I've heard operators say, I don't want to track my drivers. It's an invasion of privacy. And I'm all for privacy. It's a very important topic in our world today. But
to that end,
yeah, go ahead.
To that end, my argument to those drivers was always, would you prefer me calling you every 11 minutes to find out where you are?
Yeah, that's one, and the other part is like, okay, you put yourselves in the shoes of your son or daughter, and let's pretend they are the ones stuck on the side of the road with no information but nothing other than a cell phone. Wouldn't you want to know that your operator that's heading over to you is about 15 minutes away and they're 4 blocks down the road? It's when you really pivot it and you start understanding it as a customer problem rather than a business problem, I've seen businesses dramatically grow. Like really, companies and tow companies scale faster when they obsess over the customer experience, because I guess the perspective that I can give the towing network through this podcast is that carriers, the people who are giving us the volume, that's what their customers care about, is quality and speed and accurate ETAs and tracking. So it's only natural that the people who really embrace this grow faster.
You mentioned carriers there, Steven. I'd like to touch on this real quick. One of the misconceptions we hear out on the field all the time is that Honk is in the business of stealing people's cash calls and undercutting rates by collecting money from a customer and paying out less than what we collected for the service. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I'll give you another story that is just so relevant. Like I said, I've been with Honk at the very beginning. And so when Honk started as a business, which maybe this is where some of the misconceptions coming from, when we started as a company, we wanted to be a business to consumer company. We designed an app on the Android and Apple iOS stores, and we were marketing heavily to consumers through Google Ads to download our app and save it on their phone. And if and when they broke down, request a tow using that method. And we tried this strategy pretty hard, I would say, in the first year and a half. But much like the methodology that we use in our business today, is we observe the market and we watch what people do. We learned that the majority of people who break down, their first instinct is not to download an app or to open an app to request a tow truck. It's typically to call their auto manufacturer or call their insurance company. And so very early on, I mean, this was year 1 or 2, I can't really remember exactly when, of the business, we pivoted. The Honk as a business pivoted away from, these cash call type of situations into building technology for insurance carriers and pursuing these contracts that insurance carriers have in terms of volume. So today, the percentage of jobs that we do via our consumer app is so small. And actually, we've definitely now learned that these cash calls are so critical to the business of tow companies, which is why we decided to really pivot our efforts from, focusing on that side of the business, direct to consumer, but more focused direct to business. So Honk today is really a business to business company where 90+% of our activities at Honk are always trying to solve those problems for the insurance carriers and the customer on the side of the road. Not so much on the let's figure out how to get more Honk apps in the hands of consumers and steal away from direct jobs, if you will.
So most of our clients, most of our work, the people that we're dealing with, our end users, are essentially, these are people that are calling their insurance company or their auto manufacturer or their fleet provider or something else, and we're managing that roadside assistance program for those carriers. It's not like we're just somebody here that's shaving dollars and cents off people's business.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And why is that? It's not because the insurance carriers want it to be that way. It's just what's convenient at the moment, right? It's all about when you're broken on the side of the road, what is the easiest way to get you help? And, we're talking about years and decades of technology that the insurance carriers have built to be able to provide the service. 10 years ago, it was simply dial a phone number and somebody will pick up on the other line, take your information and tell you a tow truck will be there within the hour. Nowadays, it's a lot more intricate and invested, and customers can request services from their insurance apps that they have on their phone, or they can call their direct insurance agent even and do it that way. So it's all about, like, today when people break down, what do they naturally do? And so that's usually where the majority of the activity is.
You touched a little bit more on the Uber-like service, the Amazon service, the 2-day delivery, and, everything is so swift and at your fingertips. And that is really what is wanted. And I think that goes towards expectations of jobs, or expectations of, how are we going to how fast can we get to the customer? How fast do we design our system so that our providers can get to the customer? So, Steven, if you could break down that part of it for us just a little bit, if you can, about how we've bridged the gap between the the 3 different types of customers that we support, which is the operator, the customer, and our carriers. Tell us how we've bridged that gap to make everyone happy.
Yeah, it's a tough job. I got to tell you, Honk hasn't successfully done it all the way. I think we've found a lot of ways to provide information about a job quickly and efficiently, but Honk hasn't solved all of the problems. And I think what a lot of people kind of expect from a tech company is to solve all of the problems. And so, in order to do that, that requires massive amounts of resources, and also it requires readiness from the market, right? So you asked, how have we connected the dots on dispatchers and people on the side of the road and the operator heading over there? We are slightly different than some of the competitors, to where, the way that we try to find the operator that will do the job for us is actually based on what is best for the customer. Yeah. And, each geography is different, as you can imagine. There's geographies that are flat and, fairly quickly and easy to travel. There's geographies that have massive amounts of traffic. There's geographies that have waterways in between, tolls, bridges, you name it. But at the end of the day, our algorithms are designed to help us find the person who arrives the quickest to our customer. And we reward that, right? By always giving the opportunity for our provider to accept or reject a job openly, right? There's no looming thing of a contract over the provider, making their decision on whether or not to take this job. We really want our partners to be honest about, can you arrive within the time that you're saying that you're going to arrive? Because when that notification is in your hand, as soon as it dings your phone, it should signify that I'm the closest provider and I should answer this notification at the moment. At the end of the day, the aggregate is all about providing this customer who's on the side of the road the closest and best operator for that situation.
So Yvonne can testify to this, but HONK brings in people like myself and like we mentioned earlier, Shelley Hawkins, to sort of be the voice of the industry here and make sure that our providers are being taken care of properly and making sure everything is functioning to their benefit as well, so that they have a voice here within the company. And like I said, Yvonne can testify to this. Steven and I get into some heated debates sometimes and some heated discussions. But Steven, one thing I wanted to bring up is that, I hear sometimes from some of the network that I speak to, I see posts in forums all the time that, they're getting pinged for HONK jobs that are 40 and 50 miles away. Explain to us what happens in that scenario.
It's a good question, Dennis. That really shouldn't be happening very often. If at all consistently, that's a very weird thing to hear about. Our systems are built, codified, if you will, to dispatch the closest and best provider to that customer. And we built our system this way and made sure that it was built this way just so we could make sure that we could offer a couple of different, positives to the network. We can keep your costs low by sending you jobs that are near you. And we're also built to provide the best experience to the customer at the end of the day. So, if there's a provider out there or a partner who's experiencing receiving these notifications when they're 40 to 50 miles away, I would encourage them to just reach out to us. Go to www.joinhonk.com and send a support request over to our team where we can take a look at that bug. But really, it shouldn't be happening at all that often. And in the edge cases that we do, we don't penalize you for not taking those jobs. So
and thank you so much for clarifying that. I think that was a huge question for a lot of the partners that we have in our network, is wondering exactly what that breakdown looks like and how that works with them receiving some of those alerts. So something else we were talking about, I definitely wanted to touch on is, Steven, you mentioned the type of providers that you started off with working with HONK. One of the things that you mentioned was that an owner-operator should definitely want to invest in tech in their trucks to monitor vehicle and operator movements. Talk about that a little bit. In your opinion, do you think that is what leads to more jobs in general, not just with HONK, but in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Like let's be direct, right? If there's one thing that we know about this network, about these operators in the tow industry, is that they want direct answers. Tell me how to win. Don't fluff me around. Just give me the formula for success, right? And here's what that answer is from the perspective of HONK. And I'll answer it from what our clients care about. They care about people who have the ability to provide tracking. Where is that operator located during the time of a job? So that will be telematics and all of that fancy stuff. Background checks. This is extremely important, right? We have customers on the side of the road, and we want to be able to make sure that the person arriving on scene is somebody that is trustworthy and we can provide a background check for in return for the clients. And the other part of it is being extremely friendly and susceptible to the situation and making it better for the customer, right? So quality, or sometimes it's done in the way of surveys. We need providers to not just only be physics experts. And I know it's asking for a lot, but this is the reality, right? In order for you to win the market, you need to be able to have this technology tell the carriers, here's where my operators are. Provide a background check, which HONKs pays for all the background checks, and we're more than happy to do that.
Unlike our competition.
I won't say too much about the competition.
Shameless plug.
Sure. And it's not just about having a background check on file for, in the back of the cabinet. HONK has a very specific offering, which we sell this to our clients, which is, we know the operator that's arriving on scene, and I can within 30 seconds pull the background check on file for that individual. And so that is how you win, right? Sign up through HONK, get your background checks done, have the apps in hand, and over time, as HONK starts to grow in market share and we get more and larger accounts, which there's a lot of exciting stuff happening at HONK, you will be the person who the majority of this volume goes to.
And again, I feel like a broken frickin' record saying this over and over again, but it's not just HONK and our world that is just saying, okay, we want to do this because we want to do it. We're doing it because this is what our end consumers want. This is what insurance companies want. This is what fleet carriers want. This is what people want. This is the experience that they're used to now. This is the experience that companies like, again, Uber, Lyft, Postmates, Amazon, and a million other services now that you can go on your phone and push a couple of buttons and have something, anything delivered to you within minutes. And this is the world that we live in now, and it's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, and I can absolutely attest to, as a consumer, when I know who's coming, when I know that that person has a background check, that person is covered with insurance, that tells me the level of professionalism that that company is operating with. It makes me feel comfortable. It makes me say, you know what, I either can recommend, leave a review, or follow up and go back to that same type of service that I received initially because it was so great and it was high above all the rest. So yeah, you guys are definitely hitting it all the nails on the head. Dennis, you came out with a helpful info guide on tips to go digital for tow business owners. So would you break that down for us a little bit? I know you broke it down quite a bit, gave some great insight on options of where they can start. But why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that as well?
So for me, as someone who's been on the road and primarily in the dispatch office, the most important tool that I've ever had in front of me has been GPS tracking software. I don't care who you use. I don't care what carrier you use. And I'm not just talking about honks tracking. I'm not talking about, tracking through apps like Towbook and stuff where you can track your driver's phone location. I'm talking about actual hardwired integration into your tow units of GPS technology. I'm talking about things that can track your track not only your truck's location, but when the PTO is engaged, when you can track hard driving stats, you can track speed, you can track hard braking, you can track your fuel economy, you can track your maintenance throughout all this software. It just makes life easier for everybody. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, it means not having to call your drivers every 10 minutes to go, where you at? Where are you? What are you doing? Did you drop that yet? I can see where you are on the map. And if you stop moving, I'm going to call you and say, what the heck's going on? It just makes life so much easier and for me, I'm a very visual person. So it helps to have that map in front of me and have that visual icon of where all my equipment is at any given time. I can type in an address of where a job is and I can see what the closest truck is to the call, much like we do. But I can see where it is and visualize it on a map. And I can go, okay, look, he's going to be dropping at this location. I can send him around and this guy may be clear first, but this guy's going to be clear in 5 minutes and he's going to be 7 minutes away from the call. So that's the guy for that job. So for me, GPS tracking and actually having that visualization and having that equipment on and using that data is another big part of it, is using all that data on the back end. To really look and see what your equipment is doing and how much money your equipment is making is a massive, massive efficiency upgrade for your company.
Let me add a little bit to that just because it's such a great point. Like, things that I've observed being in these offices, start at the heart of your company, which I guess if you're a single owner operator, you are everything: CEO, maintenance, actual person doing the services. But if you are a company that has a central dispatch center or somebody who has the responsibility of accepting and rejecting all of the services that come your way, start there. I mean, take a look around, walk into your main dispatcher's office and identify all of the things that are not digital. It sounds really weird, right? But identify what things you're writing on pieces of paper. Identify what things are in some notes underneath somebody's iPhone, for example, and realize that anything that is not tech driven is something it's costing you money. And it might not cost you money immediately. It will cost you money in the long term. So, what does Honk know to be a truism? If you invest, which I understand it's an investment, and these things are, they tend to be expensive sometimes. But if you invest in these tech first things, whether it's things inside of your truck, whether it's equipment for your operators, you will pay less in claims throughout the years. You will have less wear and tear for your vehicles. You will identify the correct maintenance to make the lifetime of the vehicles last longer. It's an investment that will allow you to be in business for a very, very long time. So step one is walk into your dispatcher's office and take a look at everything that is done manually. And there are so many technology pieces out there and companies out there that are solving every little part of the tow business through a tech means. And go out and research, or assign somebody in your office who is tech savvy and ask them, hey, go look up what things we should invest in that are technologically driven. That's just my little tidbit of how to get started.
No, that's great. And if you're listening, guys, of course, like and subscribe the show, but we are going to make sure that we give you all these resources so that you have access to Dennis's tips and tricks on how to get your business started going digital, as well as we'll have an article coming out with one of our partners who has been able to transform their business and is very successful doing so. So we definitely want to make sure that we support you with that and give you access to as much information as possible to help you get there.
And once you get that stuff installed, and once you're up and running, and you're actually using, your central dispatch software and your GPS tracking and your digital communications and your text messages, and if you're using software like Slack and all that stuff, once you have that, take the time to analyze what comes out of that, because you can actually, with enough data, with enough of your own data, you can predict how busy you're going to be on any given day. You can make sure that you're staffed appropriately. You're not overstaffed and you're not understaffed, because you definitely don't want to be understaffed. But we run into another problem in this industry where we end up overstaffing because it's not really there's no predictable nature to this industry. But when you have enough of the information of what you do on a fairly regular basis, you know that XYZ company is going to call you, and XYZ Landscaping breaks down 3 times a week with their Chevy 4500 trucks. So you need a medium duty available 3 days a week for this customer, because it's going to happen because they have 8,500 trucks in their fleet and they break down 3 times a week. Just information like that can help you save money, and all this technology, all this stuff that you're going to buy, all this stuff you're putting together, it pays for itself in the long run. And whether that be insurance discounts, improving your actual efficiency, improving your fuel mileage, improving how you maintain your trucks, it all comes together and it makes up these dollars and cents that really can push you from being a company that makes 3 to 4% profit in this industry, which is the going average, and move you up to that 10, 12, 15% profit where you can actually make money and be a successful business.
I'd also say, that it seems daunting, right? To go out and research all this stuff and then implement it and teach your operators how to use it. It seems scary, and it is, right? But that's what change always feels like in the beginning. But one of the most important pieces, actually, I kind of another story. I've seen operators embrace technology, really, I guess verbally as you have a conversation with them, but then you look at their company and you find out that only one of the 10 trucks has technology in it. You can't do it gradually. Actually, doing it gradually will introduce a lot more chaos into your world, because now you have to manage an automated, technologically driven side of your business while also managing the very manual side of your business. And so, the reason I say it's a daunting task is because I believe that, the real way to do this is to invest yourself, invest your company, but also get your operators to understand it at its root core of why it's important. And again, we at HONK, we believe it's important because we all grow as a business if this customer on the side of the road is helped in the way that they want to be helped. And so take all of this research, take all of these companies that you now have to think about or integrate, divide and conquer, and do it all at once. Once you make that full transition to fully digital or fully tracked, and you have telematics information coming out of your trucks, the world just changes. And it's a big load off of your shoulders once you understand that you now have the data to come back to and look at on a screen that might tell you how to better run your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, and remember, some of the keys to going digital is a combination of high-tech communication, navigation, and first-class customer service. And you guys will be well on your way to digitally transforming your business. Guys, thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation. But let's not end the discussion here. Like we said, if you were transforming your business, reach out, let us know what you've done or you were planning to do. Let's have a communication with everybody, and we can all share some tips and tricks, but we'll definitely have some resources for all of our listeners to come back to and take a look at it and get started.
And like Steven just said, don't half-ass it. That's what he was trying to say.
Yes, go in or go home. 100%.
Go big, go all the way, or go home.
They wanted the winning formula, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis, for putting it so clearly. We truly believe that. Me as a individual who builds technology for Honk, we believe in tech, and we believe that that's the future, and that's how this really incredible 5-6-year-old company has been able to grow so rapidly. And just from my team at Honk, the amount of growth that we're going to experience over the next year, 2 years, 3 years is pretty unimaginable. And so I guess, to be even more blunt, join us now, because this world will evolve much, much faster. And we're here as a resource. I think, we have a lot of ways for you guys to access our teams, and we'd be more than happy to help.
And that's one of the things I love about working here at this company, is that we're not just a transactional company. We don't just hire service providers to do tows or do tire changes or all the many different services that we do. We invest in that network. We're doing things that because we want to improve the industry as a whole, because we see ourselves not as outsiders but as part of the entire ecosystem of the towing industry.
I agree
with both of you. Thank you so much to Steven once again for just coming on the show and breaking it down to us. We appreciate everything, your insight. We appreciate the ideas that you shared, and we're looking forward to some of the problems that Honk is looking to solve.
Thanks for having me.
Steven, thanks again for being here. We really appreciate it. And guys, if you're listening, reach out. Tell us what you've done. Talk about your digital transformation. Tell us what works. Tell us what doesn't work. Tell us what we missed. What did we leave off this list? What else can we do to help you grow your business so we can grow with you?
You guys are doing an incredible job. I'm so excited. I've heard a lot of really great things from providers about this podcast, and thanks for having me. It was super exciting.
Woo, what a show today. You guys are on fire, giving us all the information.
It's always a great conversation with Steven, whether we're recorded or not. We should probably record more of our conversations, just generally speaking.
Yeah, no, definitely. I want to hear the one where you started crying. I heard that there was one where you just kind of broke down a little bit.
I don't think that's entirely true.
That might have been
fake news, Yvonne.
Fake news. Whatever. Well, guys, thank you so much for just joining us for today. We obviously had such a great time. Always, always, always listen, like, and subscribe so that you can get more of this wonderful content that we're bringing to you guys. And please leave comments. This show is largely based on what we hear from you. We want to know what you need to know. We want to make sure we give you tips, tricks. For today's show specifically, we're going to definitely have some tips and tricks linked in our episode 8 profile. Let us know. We want to hear from you. But also, if you consider yourself a leader of the pack currently, leave tips. How about your fellow tower and tell us what you've done to digitize your business and how successful it's been for you. If you use Honk as an additional revenue source for your business, we want to know. We want to find out how you've been able to implement the app into your operations. Let us know, guys.
Yeah, and like we said today, when you get some time, sit down, look around your office, assess your business from the inside out. Look at every process. Is it manual? Is it automated? Like Steven said, if it's manual, you're probably losing money on it. So let's tighten those things up. Let's fix what we can fix. Let's move. We talk about insurance on the show. We talk about fuel costs on the show. Those are things you really can't control. But there are tons of things that you can control in your office, in your trucks, that can help drive revenue.
Do it. Don't wait.
Do it now.
Do it now. All right. Well, once again, thanks for joining us for the latest episode of Get Hooked. You guys have a great day. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Don't forget to
get hooked.
You do that better than I do.